Hey everyone, the workout brief for Wednesday, April 1st. The workout is going to be, welcome to my new editing skills, 2 parts. First part is an 8-minute AMRAP of 8 snatches, 8 alternating overhead lunges, and then 8 burpees over whatever object it is you're using for the workout, whether it's a backpack, a kettlebell, a dumbbell, a plate, some other thing that you have laying around the house. You're going to perform a burpee and hop over it laterally every single repetition. Second part is going to be a good old-fashioned pump sesh. So we'll spend 8 minutes doing some upright rows for the shoulders, tricep extensions for the triceps, and curls for the guns. We'll go over the different equipment options and what each movement potentially will look like based on what you're using for the workout. Talk about some potential modifications for some of these as needed. And then the warm-up, I'll just go over this right now real quick before we get started. Pretty standard fare in terms of what we normally do. Some dynamic stretching. Make sure you work on opening up the shoulders and the hips, getting the back prepared for bending over a bunch of times. Maybe warm up the legs a little bit, certainly, for the lunges. And then, of course, as per usual, couple sets of the workout itself, kind of a miniature little version of the workout, just to make sure you prep the movements real good. Assistant Coach Hope is here, everybody, making her guest appearance. So just to go over the movements real quick. Part 1, the snatch. I gotta get some kind of film crew or something. All right, that'll work. So I'm gonna go over the different movements, assuming that you're using a backpack, a loaded backpack. Again, you can load it up with whatever you have access to. Get really as much weight in there as possible. All the repetitions in this workout are relatively low. 8 reps of each movement. You should be able to do them unbroken every single set. 8 minutes is not a long period of time, so you should be able to cycle through fairly quickly. That's the idea. Where's my backpack? Here she is. So load the backpack up, the snatch. The backpack will obviously start on the ground between your feet. You're going to stand up, snap the legs and hips, and punch the backpack overhead to full lockout, lower back down along the body, tap it on the ground, and repeat. Really relying primarily on the snap of the legs and hips to get that backpack up overhead. For the lunges, you'll keep the backpack held overhead. These are going to be reverse lunges where you step back behind you, maintaining that position overhead, take a step back, kiss the back knee to the floor, push through the front foot back to standing, and repeat with the opposite side. So you'll do 4 reps each leg, 8 total alternating reps. And you'll put the backpack down on the floor. Move your baby out of the way. And the burpee, you're going to perform it next to your backpack. And this will be consistent for all the different potential pieces of equipment. So I won't go over this again and again and again. Perform the burpee. I'm not sure if you guys can even see the backpack. It's just laying on the ground. Perform the burpee next to it. Get back to your feet. From there, jump both feet together, land on the opposite side, and then from there, perform another burpee and repeat. Okay? 8 total reps, so you'll perform 4 on each side of the object. If you don't have access to the backpack, or if you have access to a dumbbell or a kettlebell or a plate, we'll go over those options real quick. Let's just start with a dumbbell. If you're going to be using 1 dumbbell for the workout, you can do this one of 2 ways, depending upon the weight of the dumbbell that you have. If it's relatively heavy, you can use both hands for the snatches the entire time. The movement would look very similar to how it looked with the backpack. Grab the heads of the bell here, lower it down, tap it on the floor between your feet, stand up, snap, and punch the dumbbell up overhead to full lockout. If the weight is relatively light, or if you're proficient with dumbbell snatches, you can just do them 1 arm at a time, alternating. So it'll end up being 4 reps per arm. So lower it down, tap it on the ground, perform the one-arm snatch, switch hands on the way down, tap it on the ground, and repeat. The lunges are intended to be done holding the dumbbell up overhead with both hands. So regardless of what method you use for the snatch, still grab the dumbbell with both hands for the lunges. Same idea as what we had with the backpack. If you don't have the mobility in the shoulders to hold it overhead with both hands, you could, of course, do it with one and then just switch halfway through. Or a potential replacement for that is to just hold it in the rack. Okay, and perform the lunges just like that. If you're going to be using a kettlebell, again, if you're proficient in a kettlebell snatch, so a single arm kettlebell snatch, you can just do 8 alternating repetitions of the kettlebell snatch. So the kettlebell will just basically, from the hang position between the legs, snap it up overhead. On the way back down, you're going to transition hands and repeat with the opposite side. Okay, you could also do 4 on one side and then just 4 on the other. If you're not proficient in the single arm kettlebell snatch, you can just perform an overhead kettlebell swing. So double hand, obviously just the standard kettlebell swing, hips back, snap the legs and hips, and bring it all the way to lockout up overhead. If you're going to be using a kettlebell for the lunges, I would recommend just doing a single arm overhead lunge. Do 4 on one side, and then switch arms and do 4 on the other. Holding it with both hands overhead could be kind of dicey. And if that's a no-go, again, just hold it in that rack position right on the chest for the lunges. That's fine. And then finally, guys, a plate. I actually don't have access to a plate, so I'm just going to use an ab mat. But imagine this is a plate. So you perform a plate to ground overhead, ground to overhead with the plate in lieu of the snatch. So same idea, it starts between the feet, snap the legs and hips, punch the full lockout overhead. For the overhead lunge, just hold the plate overhead and perform your lunges. I'll create a separate video for part 2 just to go over the movements as well as some of the modifications and substitutes based on what it is you're going to be using for the workout. All right, gang, enjoy.